When death finally comes, it doesn't whisper. It crashes into the soul with a truth so overwhelming that every distraction of this world shatters in an instant. The moment your final breath trembles in your chest, something you could never prepare for begins to unfold, something the prophets warned us about since the beginning of time. Right at the edge of existence, when your body weakens and your heart slows, a doorway opens that no human eye can see, yet every soul will face. And the question becomes terrifyingly simple. What will you witness on the other side of that final heartbeat? Before we continue, tell me, where in the world are you watching this from right now? And if you want more deep Islamic reminders like this, make sure you subscribe to the channel. The truth is, the moment of death is not silent. According to Islamic teaching, it begins with a shift inside you, subtle, strange, undeniable. Your senses flicker as if the world is dimming, not because the room is dark, but because the soul is preparing to step out of the body that once confined it. Sounds stretch, colors fade, and time itself feels as though it has slowed to a thick, heavy crawl. The soul recognizes that something ancient and unavoidable is approaching. This is the instant where the unseen begins to bleed into the visible, where the heart understands truths that the mind ignored, and where the soul begins to remember what it was created for. You're not gone yet, but you're no longer fully here either. It is in this fragile space between breaths that the barrier between the dunya and the unseen begins to crumble. As the world's grip loosens, you feel a presence entering the room, not through the door, not through the walls, but through a realm you never sensed before. Islamic teachings describe this as the arrival of beings made of light or of shadow, depending entirely on the life you lived. These are the angels of death, and their arrival is anything but ordinary. They come with a purpose written long before you were born. And in those final moments, you understand something profound. They have not come to negotiate. For a righteous soul, the angels appear with a calm so deep that the fear of dying melts like ice under the sun. Their faces shine with gentleness, and their presence feels like warmth reaching into a heart that has been cold for decades. The Prophet Muhammad described them carrying fragrances sweeter than musk, comforting the soul, assuring it, welcoming it. In their presence, the fear of the unknown dissolves, replaced with a peace that feels strangely familiar, as if the soul is returning home after a lifetime away. But for the soul that lived in arrogance or denial, the experience is nothing like this. The angels that appear are described as dark, stern, overwhelming in their presence. Their arrival brings a weight that crushes the heart with regret, a certainty that the truth has finally arrived and there is no escape. Their faces are not gentle, their voices are not soothing, and their message carries the sharpness of divine justice. In that moment, the soul realizes that the warnings it once brushed aside were never empty, and the terror of knowing it is too late becomes heavier than anything the world could ever inflict. The angels do not communicate the way humans do. Their words are not heard with ears. They are felt in the deepest part of the soul. A righteous soul feels reassurance. Come out, noble one. A corrupt soul feels the opposite. Come out, you foul soul, dragged from the body it clings to. And as their presence fills the room, the dying person becomes aware of a reality more powerful than everything they once believed was solid. This is the point of no return. The doorway is open, and the soul must now step through it. The moment the angels reach for the soul is the moment every human being discovers what death truly feels like. Islamic teachings describe this instant with a detail that shakes the heart. because it reveals a truth we try so hard to ignore. The soul does not exit the body quietly. For the believer, the separation is as gentle as water being poured from a jug, soft, smooth, effortless, as if the soul had been waiting its entire life for this release. A warmth spreads through it, a peace descends on it, and the fear that once surrounded the idea of dying vanishes like mist in the morning sun. It slips out with honor, welcomed, carried with dignity by angels whose presence feels like mercy taking form. This is the moment when the soul finally understands that everything it endured, every hardship, every tear, every prayer whispered in the middle of the night, was seen, counted, and rewarded. But for the wrongdoer, the experience could not be more different. The Prophet Muhammad described their soul clinging to the body, refusing to leave, scrambling for any chance to stay connected to the world it lived for. The angels pull it out like a thorny branch dragged through wet wool, ripping, tearing, resisting, full of agony that the human world cannot measure. This is not cruelty. It is the unveiling of truth. A soul that spent its life ignoring guidance suddenly recognizes what it lost, and the realization crushes it. It tries to hold on to the body, to the dunya, to its illusions, but nothing can stop what has been written. And as it is pulled out, it feels exposed in a way it never imagined, seen by beings it cannot hide from, bound for a reality it spent its whole life pretending would never come. The soul, once removed, is no longer blind. It sees its own body lying beneath it, lifeless, empty, a shell it once thought defined its identity. It understands then, with absolute clarity, that the body was only a temporary garment. The real self, the one that prayed, sinned, hoped, feared, loved, and regretted, is now free from it. And for the first time, the soul sees the angels surrounding it with a perception that doesn't rely on physical eyes. It sees the world as it truly is, a temporary stage that fooled billions, a place where people fought over things that meant nothing in the end. This is the moment when illusions die and truth stands alone. Once the soul is taken, its journey into the unseen begins immediately. No delay, no hesitation. The angels wrap it in a shroud, but this shroud is not like the cloth used for burial. It is a shroud of the unseen, carrying a fragrance or a stench that reflects the life the soul lived. A righteous soul is wrapped in scents sweeter than musk, a fragrance that fills the heavens with beauty, causing the angels to welcome it with joy. But a corrupt soul is wrapped in a dark, foul odor that spreads through the unseen world, causing the angels to recoil and close their ranks. The soul understands instantly what it has brought with it. Carried by angels, the soul begins to ascend through the layers of the heavens, and every gate it reaches becomes a test of its true self. When a righteous soul approaches the first heaven, the angels guarding it ask, "Who is this beautiful soul?" And they respond with honor, calling it by the best names it was ever known by on earth. The gates swing open, welcoming it with peace, and the soul rises higher, greeted by angels who smile upon it, celebrating its journey. At every level, it feels loved, recognized, valued. It learns in those moments that no good deed was ever wasted, no sacrifice was ever ignored, no private act of worship ever went unseen. But for the wicked soul, the journey is terrifying. When it reaches the first gate of heaven, the angels ask, "Who is this foul soul?" And the response carries no honor, no affection, no recognition. The gates do not open. The heavens do not welcome it. Instead, the decree comes commanding its return to the earth it loved so blindly, the dunya it placed above everything else, the temporary world it worshipped as if it were eternal. and the soul feels the weight of rejection, the collapse of every false hope it relied upon. It understands with horrifying clarity that the real journey has only just begun, and it is not the journey it once imagined. As the soul descends, it sees with new eyes the reality of its choices. It remembers the warnings it ignored, the signs it dismissed, the guidance it pushed aside for comfort and convenience, and it realizes that the path ahead has already been shaped by its actions. Meanwhile, the righteous soul ascends higher, embraced by light, surrounded by angels who celebrate its arrival as if welcoming a traveler returning home after a lifetime away. Both souls now understand the full truth. The moment of death was not an ending. It was the beginning of everything they were created for. When the soul finally witnesses the unseen world in its full magnitude, a shock of truth strikes deeper than any fear a human has ever felt in their lifetime. Islamic teachings describe this moment as an unveiling so complete that every false belief, every comforting lie, every excuse a person once relied on simply collapses. Nothing is hidden anymore. The soul sees the angels, the gates, the path ahead, and the absolute reality of its own deeds with a clarity sharper than anything the human mind could process while alive. For the believer, this revelation washes over them like light breaking through darkness. They feel the weight of years of trust, patience, and struggle finally transform into something tangible, something beautiful. Peace settles into them, a peace they never truly tasted in the world, even in their happiest days. They realize that the prayers they whispered in exhaustion were not forgotten, that the good deeds done in secret rose like pillars of light supporting them now. Their soul feels safe, protected, honored. But for others, the moment of truth hits with the intensity of regret that feels endless. The soul sees every ignored warning, every sin treated casually, every act of pride and injustice. It realizes that the world it chased so desperately was just dust slipping through its fingers. It realizes that the jokes it made about religion weren't jokes at all. It realizes that it had been walking toward this moment its entire life, yet never prepared for it. The shock is not just fear, it is recognition. Recognition that the truth was always there, but the heart refused to acknowledge it. And now the truth stands without disguise, without escape, without delay. As the soul is reconnected to the body in the grave, a new, unimaginable experience begins. The grave, which once appeared to be nothing more than a silent hole in the ground, transforms into the first arena of the afterlife, a world between worlds, the realm known as Barzakh. In this place, the soul is not asleep, nor fully awake. It is in a state that combines awareness, memory, and spiritual perception. Islamic teaching tells us that the first moments inside the grave are profoundly significant. After the living walk away and the last footsteps fade, two mighty angels, Munkar and Nakir, approach with a presence that shakes the very core of the soul. Their arrival is not symbolic, it is real, and their purpose is clear. They come to question. They come to examine the heart, not the tongue. Their questions are simple, but the weight of them is unimaginable. Who is your Lord? What is your religion? Who was your prophet? These are not theological quizzes. They are reflections of what the soul truly lived by. A person may have verbally claimed faith all their life, but if their heart never knew God, the truth will reveal itself instantly. The believer answers effortlessly, not by memory, but by genuine connection. Their heart responds before their thoughts do, glowing with certainty. They feel a serenity wash over them, as though the unseen world itself is opening. But the one who lived without faith, or who lived faith only on the surface, finds their tongue frozen, their soul trembling. Their answers do not come, not because they forgot them, but because their heart never truly believed them. The grave exposes the inner reality that no one else could see. It reveals what a person really lived for, what they valued, what they worshipped. And as the questioning ends, the consequences begin to unfold, shaping the grave into either a space of comfort or a space of torment. For the righteous, the grave expands as far as the eye can see, filled with light, ease, and a breeze carrying the scent of paradise. A window opens toward their eternal home, and through it they see beauty beyond anything the world could offer. Gardens, peace, radiance, joy. Their soul feels safe, as though wrapped in divine mercy. Their resting place becomes a sanctuary, a soft cradle of comfort where fear cannot reach them. Every moment feels peaceful, and they understand with certainty that what lies ahead is better than everything they left behind. But for the soul that ignored signs and warnings, the grave becomes tight, suffocating, dark. The hadith describes the walls closing in until the ribs interlock. A window to the fire opens, sending waves of heat, despair, and loneliness. The soul is shown its place in the next world, not to torture it pointlessly, but to awaken it to the reality of what it created with its own choices. Time in the grave feels different. It may feel like moments or like centuries. The soul experiences a life of its own there, waiting for the day when all souls will be gathered and awakened. And in that waiting, the truth becomes clearer than ever. The grave is the first reflection of a person's eternal fate, the first echo of the life they lived, and the first taste of the world they are stepping into. For the righteous soul, the grave becomes a place where fear cannot enter. Islamic teachings describe a vast expanse opening around them, stretching further than their eyes can see, filled with softness, serenity, and a gentle light that has no earthly source. The soul feels no heaviness, no panic, no tightness, only relief. A heavenly breeze flows through the space, carrying the sweet fragrance of paradise, a scent so pure that it erases every trace of pain the person ever experienced in the world. A window is opened for them, and through that window they witness their place in the hereafter. Lush gardens, flowing rivers, homes of unimaginable beauty, a world where no grief exists, no sorrow lingers, no burden weighs on the heart. They are told, "This is where you will rest until the day you are resurrected." In that moment, all the sacrifices they made in life suddenly make sense. Every hardship they endured feels light. Every test they faced becomes a badge of honor. The soul understands that nothing was lost, nothing was wasted, nothing went unnoticed. They are comforted by angels who reassure them, reminding them that this peace is only the beginning, that an even greater joy is waiting beyond. Resurrection. They settle into their resting place with a sense of fulfillment that cannot be described, knowing with certainty that their Lord was always with them, always guiding them, always preparing them for this moment. But for the soul that lived in heedlessness or rebellion, the grave becomes something entirely different, something they never imagined, something they never took seriously. Islamic teachings tell us that the grave can tighten until the ribs collapse against one another, not from cruelty, but from the weight of a life spent ignoring the truth. Darkness fills the space, heavy and suffocating, making the soul feel trapped with no escape, no light, no comfort. A window opens for them as well, but what appears through it is not beauty or relief. It is a glimpse of the fire, a blaze roaring with rage and despair. The heat rushes through the grave like a storm, and the soul trembles with a regret so deep that it feels like a living force within them. They see what their place could have been had they lived differently. They see the consequences of their arrogance, their disbelief, their injustice. They hear voices from the unseen warning them, telling them that this torment is not yet the final punishment. It is only a preview of what waits if they do not awaken, if they do not understand, if they do not recognize the truth they rejected in life. The grave becomes a reminder of every opportunity they wasted, every chance they ignored, every sign they turned away from. And time passes in a way only Allah fully knows. Days feel like years, moments stretch into what feels like centuries. The soul waits, unable to change its fate, unable to escape, unable to deny reality anymore. And then begins the phase known as Barzakh, the barrier between this world and the day of resurrection. In Barzakh, the soul does not disappear, nor does it sleep without awareness. It experiences a life of its own, a life shaped entirely by its deeds. For the righteous, Barzakh is a place of increasing comfort, where every passing moment brings more light, more fragrance, more anticipation of what is to come. They rest like a traveler who has finally reached safety after a long, exhausting journey. Angels visit them with good news, reminding them of the day they will rise to meet their Lord with a face glowing with light. They feel no fear of the trumpet blast because they know what awaits them. Their heart is filled with hope, with longing, with joy that only expands with time. They are given glimpses of their final place in paradise, shown streams and palaces and gardens more magnificent than anything the human imagination could create. Barzakh becomes a place of celebration, a gentle countdown to eternal happiness. But for the soul that refused belief, Barzakh becomes a slow, painful realization. Time moves differently for them, not as comfort, but as weight. Every moment feels like a reminder of what could have been. The window to the fire remains open, letting in waves of misery that wrap around them like chains. They see others resting in peace while they remain in dread. They understand that resurrection is coming, that judgment is coming, that nothing they relied on in the world will help them now. They hear whispers from the unseen, reminding them of the day they used to mock, the warnings they ignored, the truth they pretended was false. Their heart fills with terror, with regret, with hopelessness. They know that when the trumpet is blown, their situation will not improve. It will escalate into something far more intense. Barzakh becomes a haunting place where they wait, not for relief, but for the beginning of a justice they never prepared for. And as time stretches toward the moment when all souls will rise from their graves, every soul realizes the same ultimate truth. The dunya was never the real home. Every smile, every tear, every victory, every loss was nothing more than a moment in a test that ends here. The grave is not the end. It is the doorway. Barzakh is not the final destination. It is the waiting room for eternity. Every soul, whether resting in peace or trembling in fear, knows that the next sound they hear will be the call that awakens all of creation. On that day, there will be no disbelief, no arguments, no denial, only truth, only justice, only the reality of what each person sent forward with their own hands, and the soul finally understands what lies ahead will last forever.